Hey, this is Pape with Wits and Weights. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my incredible, well-muscled friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Hey, Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It's Scott Ferguson. And thank you so much for tuning in this episode. It is with my good friend and rock star from the podcast Wits and Weights, another top 2% globally ranked podcast, Pape. And we had just a fun conversation about really skeletal muscle, building muscle, had fun talking about the people that are out there that are kind of peddling information that's really not healthy and really not working, and also just how to really live a solid, leveled up life. And Philip is a walking, talking example of it, whether you from the page, the stage, or from the microphone. He's just fantastic. So just this is one, if you're really looking to level up your health and mindset, break out your notebooks, sit back, relax. We're not going to take you through any workouts or anything like that. Not in this moment anyways. We can listen to my really good friend, Pape. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I have a neck and neck podcaster here. We're talking off the mic regarding, we're both top 2% globally with our podcast, and I kind of hit you from the mindset side. But my guy, Pape here, hits you from both the mindset and the body side. And if you're looking at him, he's a handsome dude, very well put together. And Philip is a high performance nutrition coach, physique engineer, and host of the Wits and Weights podcast. Don't go there now. There will be a link in the show notes because he's going to drop some serious knowledge nuggets you're going to write down, but it will be in the show notes, this awesome podcast. And through his personal transformation, become the strongest, leanest, and healthiest version of himself. Philip understands the effectiveness of strength training and evidence-based nutrition to look like you lift. He helps lifters achieve a more defined, muscular, leaner physique without wasting time, and is passionate about helping you get unstuck inside and outside the gym. And like his last YouTube, I was actually listening to it on Spotify, and he was talking about the triceps is 2/3 of the arm and his science back behind it, but also telling you exactly how to do skull crushers, and the rest of it was just on point. And the dude knows the stuff that I've competed in. How many NPC national level bodybuilding shows back in the 90s and 2000s? So I know this guy knows his stuff. So without further ado, here's my friend, awesome sauce, Philip. Philip, please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Oh man, first, thank you for introducing me, man. All those compliments and neck to neck on the podcasting. No, that's awesome. So favorite color, that's an interesting one. I'm going to go, I don't think I have an exciting answer for this. Maybe the color of the shirt I'm wearing because it matches my eyes, which is like a teal color. Yeah. I like teal. I'm from Miami originally. So you got the Dolphins, right. the Marlins, and all those have the teal colors. It's a fun color. So
I got my Lions blue on for this weekend. Like we were talking about Detroit, and it's like, dude, I was literally in tears. Like that, not last weekend when they beat the Bucks, but when they beat the Rams.
Yeah, it's amazing. How many years since the early 90s, right?
30,
since they went to,
dude, I was in Iraq, in Iraq, in Desert Storm, last time they won a playoff game. So
yeah, no, I hear you.
It felt great, man. So Phil, let's get to because I know you said transformation in here and really taking that and paying it forward to help others transform their lives, not only physically, because I listened to like your shows, and a lot of it's mindset as well, which is my cup of tea, which I'm so happy to have you on because I'm going to learn some stuff here too as well. But let's get to that kind of basis story, your roots of kind of where you were and how you got into the transformation.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned mindset because that's one of the biggest surprises for me through my transformation and now as a coach is how important mindset is. It's like 95% of the equation, right? And the other part of it is just knowing what to do and making it happen. So I've always been an action taker. I love the mission of your podcast of like taking massive action and personal growth and all of that, which really resonates with me. But for my whole life, my 20s and 30s, I took lots of action on things that just didn't work. All the diets, I went to the gym. I did CrossFit for like 8 years and it just didn't work because I didn't know exactly what to do. And then I was also stuck in the traditional yo-yo dieting and like dieting's an on-off switch and trying to get the quick fix and all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm just skipping way ahead to my late 30s here because that's the relevant piece of it. I'm 43 now, and it wasn't until I was 39, right before the pandemic, really, that I started to dive into the world of strength training. And by strength, I mean, not just going to the gym, not just exercising, but actually getting PRs on the big lifts, building muscle, and then fueling that with food. And I started to have some tremendous gains throughout 2020 when I did that. But because of the pandemic, I had to get really creative building my home gym, getting equipment from guys on Facebook Messenger or Facebook Marketplace.
Marketplace, yeah, dude.
Go out in the parking lot and meet this guy who graduated from UConn, didn't need his old barbell anymore.
We
Stuff like
opened up a
that.
speakeasy gym in South Florida, bro.
What's that?
We opened up a speakeasy gym in South
Oh
Florida
my God.
in
I don't know if those
Jupiter.
two mix, man. Alcohol.
No. It was like
Yeah.
It was like, remember speakeasies? No one talked about them. They just went to them. There's a gym, a couple cops put together, Jupiter cops. Like, hey, Ferg, dude, we're gonna train. We're gonna train. Sneak in the back door and go get it. I'm sorry, I cut you off, but just having to get very creative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean, right? Like the garage gyms and the gym, not gyms during COVID that just happen to have their door open. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. So, I mean, I'm a big, like, I like to learn and that I like numbers and data, but really it was not knowing what to do. And then finally finding guys like, I don't know, Eric Helms and Alan Aragon and all these evidence-based folks who muscle and strength pyramids and flexible dieting, like all that stuff. A lot of it was the bro science that works, that is still somehow in the underground that people aren't aware of. And a lot of it is more evidence-based stuff that is counter to the normal culture of you got to do lots of cardio, you got to cut carbs, like all that stuff that I used to subscribe to. I finally realized, hey, no, I could eat whatever I want. I could eat guilt-free and I can build muscle doing it and then lose fat when I want and do it with total control and confidence, right? Once I figured that out, then I was really excited to share it. Because I thought, well, if I didn't know this, and I'm the guy that like reads books, listens to podcasts, watches YouTube, takes action. If I didn't know it, how many other guys and ladies my age don't know it?
Right.
And that's why I started my podcast.
No, I love it. And with there's a whole craze out there right now, which I actually kind of buy into a little bit just because I'm 52 and I feel like I'm in my 30s again. Right. And I kind of locked into it. But the whole biohacking with regards to, I mean, I do fast, but not like I do a few longer fasts in the year, which really resets my insulin sensitivity and whatnot, which really helps out. But like the biohacking, what's your thoughts on kind of like the methylation process, the stuff that's the stuff that are food sprayed with, and like keeping that in check? Because I hear a lot of like harmony. Like I don't hear balance from you so much, because balance would be like, this equals zero, like harmonically, like you're like, okay, dude, I might eat a sundae one day, or I might be clean, but like there's like a harmony to it. Like, what's your thoughts on this kind of biohacking that's really kind of going around right now?
I would put it in like with supplementation. It's the 1% that you almost can ignore completely if you don't have the big foundations in place, is my opinion. Because I think people get overwhelmed with the information. So they're like, okay, red light therapy, cold plunges, fasting, and the list goes on. And they may all have a little bit of efficacy here and there. But if you're not training, if you're not like aware of how much protein you have, if you're not getting at least 6 hours of sleep, let alone 7 or 8, right? A lot of us busy guys, it's hard to come by sleep because we're just busy, and we're trying to make shit happen during the day. If you're not aware of all those things and just making it happen, forget about all that. Like that's what I'm trying to do, is simplify the message and say it's actually pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah. And then once you get the 95%, the 99%, you can play around with that stuff if you want.
Thank you. Yeah. Build that harmony, because there's so many other things that kind of go along with just the lifts and stuff. Like you gotta like have your family kind of taken care of, right? Your God and spiritual, if you go that route, right? Your personal growth, your money, whatnot. So like a lot of different things have got to come into harmony for it to happen. But I love that you're putting the lifting, the protein high up. And let's kind of dig in a little bit with protein, man. Because I mean, I believe that a lot of people don't realize that fat is not attached to skeletal. Like your muscle is attached to the skeletal. And as I get older, coming up on 52, like lifting is super important to me, as well as recovering with the right amino acids and proteins that I put in my body. Like let's move forward to what you're thinking, like how much protein that someone really should kind of be bringing in, and also kind of a regimen that you use to get your lifts in, and how you kind of break down your body and how you kind of play it forward to other people.
Yeah, if we are to make the assumption that muscle is everything, because that's the assumption I go by. I think muscle is more important than weight management when it comes to everything from obesity, just health, strength, everything. Because as we get older, we get more frail, we lose muscle mass, right? It's called sarcopenia. From the age of 30 to 70, we lose like 30 or 40% of our muscle mass if we're not strength training. If we are training, we can maintain and build that tissue up to the day we die. 80s and 90-year-olds can still build brand new muscle, skeletal muscle tissue. It's amazing. Now you need the building blocks for that, which is protein, right? The RDA, I think, for protein is so low, it's a survivability metric, right? It's just a let's survive. In reality, most people are eating 5-10% of their diet from protein, and it's got to be more like 25%. And when you do the math, that's around 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. Just to make it simple.
Sorry to interject, but is that a pound of body weight or a pound of lean body mass?
Yes. So the answer is yes, both, but I don't like to complicate it. This is where it's let's simplify it. If your body weight and your target body weight, go up to a pound per gram of your target body weight.
Target body weight.
The reason you said that is if you're like 300 pounds and trying to get to 200 pounds, you don't need 300 grams of protein. Probably good at 175, 200 grams.
Right.
So that's it. That's the simple rule of thumb right there.
Target body weight. I love that. You know, I've never looked at it like that because like when I kind of like went through my depressive time, I had ballooned up to 312 pounds, right? I'm 6'1", so I carried it okay, but I had a lot of chins and everything else, and I was heavy breathing. But when they just said, Fergie, get back on stage, start competing, you'll be able to be in masters now and stuff like that. So I ended up doing that. But someone said, listen, your target weight is 220, eat that many grams of protein.
Yeah.
You know, so that's awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for clarifying that. I've never heard anybody else say it that way with regards, other than somebody, a coach, the Shelby Starnes, I don't know if he is, but he's a prep coach, and he really, it's like, Fergie, we're going to get you to target body weight of this, and this how many grams you're going to eat. Because I was like, dude, 312 grams of protein is like crazy to try to bring in on a daily basis. So awesome. So do you work with clients one-on-one, or are you just kind of run through? Okay, so one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're starting with them, maybe you're in a discovery period, is there any secret sauce, if you don't mind sharing, that you help them really shine a light on their initial blind spot?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this has to be personalized. So with my clients, I work one-on-one. We do a very detailed intake of their whole life. So when we talk nutrition, I'm a nutrition coach. It's not just about food. Food's almost like at 5% of the equation. The rest of it is your training, your schedule, your stress in your life. Do you have a family and a job that forces you to eat or train a certain way? Your dieting history, your injury history, your supplementation, like the list goes on and on. How much sleep you get, stressors, all of that. And then I look for the red flags. And then it's really, what is the one or two things right now you can do that's achievable this week, that stretches your comfort zone, that doesn't seem crazy, but also gives you massive impact, like the 80-20 rule, right? And that could be just protein or walking more, or something simple like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like I'm hearing a lot of inch by inch, it's a cinch, right? You're not just trying to throw by the yard, it's hard. Like you're not just trying to throw a bunch of kind of stuff at them and say, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do. But hey, man, walk around the block. Let's just get this started. While you're doing that, we're going to implement a little bit higher protein into your lifestyle. So when you're maybe with these people, Philip, is there, in this discovery kind of conversation, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Yeah, that's a good question you just asked me. Man, I don't know, because I ask a million questions, Scott, and pretty much get everything out of them. But I want someone who's going to work with me to know what they're getting into. So they should ask, like, communication style, expectations. How do we do our check-ins? What kind of apps and tools do you want me to use? Like it's good to ask all those, because I may not volunteer all that up front. But you've got to think of the process, because I am very data driven. I want to be precise and get you to results as time efficiently as possible, knowing that you're super busy, right? You don't have time for a million spreadsheets and all this other stuff. And you got to know that that's for you. So there's other coaches that are habit-based. There's other coaches that are like intuitive eating. With me, we do track. We do want that awareness, so that in the future, if you ever don't want to track, you have full confidence of like what's going into your body and how it makes you feel and perform.
Love it, man. And biggest thing is, I guess if you're coaching me, because I have 3 coaches, right? But I ask, like, what do you need me to be as coachable as possible. Because a lot of people, they'll go, and even with, I have a UFC fighter, man, he was like, until I was able to break through, then he wasn't coachable. And we just kind of worked it. And finally he's like, listen, you don't want to be coached. I understand this. It's cool. We'll circle back another time. But then I'll get texts all the time, and they started kind of moving into it. So what I'm saying out there, squad, is that if you're going to work with someone like Philip or any other coach, make sure you are coachable and be able to trust the process, trust the protocol that someone like Philip is going to take you through. So
yeah. And I want to add to that. You got to be ready to change, because I've had people that reach out and they're like, I've got this problem, this problem, this problem. I've tried this, it hasn't worked. I've tried this, hasn't worked. And I will dig in. And then at the end of the day, they're not ready to do something different. They're like, well, I'll just try what I did last time because it worked. Well, did it work? Because are you happy with your results right now? So you got to be willing to change. That's part of coachability.
I love it, man. I love it. So be coachable out there, squad. So have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a child of the 80s.
Right. So you told me your age, and I said, yeah, I figured you would know what it is. So let's get that DeLorean with Marty McFly, right?
Okay.
Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Philip. Is there any good knowledge nuggets that you might drop on that Philip to maybe help him not change anything? Because your journey's pretty awesome, dude, but to maybe help him level up or shorten the learning curve or blast through maybe just a little bit quicker?
That's always a good question, right? Because I do agree. I wouldn't want to change history. I'm a big fan of science fiction as well, and I don't want to change the timeline because all the disasters start to happen. It usually comes down to like my personality and confidence more than the fitness stuff per se. It's like, don't be a dick, don't treat people like shit, and learn as much about yourself as you can earlier. That would be my advice. It took me years as a engineer, very introverted, and then becoming a manager later on to learn about myself enough to know what was like I wanted to get rid of and the other things that I wanted to improve and build on my strengths. So I would say, hey, learn about yourself as much as you can so that you can help others earlier.
And I love it. And in squad, like we talk about, if you don't know something, not so much about yourself, or you really want to level up, get your asking gear. There's people out there that you can ask to help you through different obstacles. Because I was like too cool, too proud. I did 6 tours overseas. I was like, I can handle anything. And dude, finally, it's just like, man, my mentor, who he just took me on. He wasn't the easiest mentor. He's just like, dude, shut your mouth. Be hungry, be humble. If you don't know something, ask about it. And this is pre-internet. You know what I'm saying? It was like, this is late 90s where you try to Google something and like 3 things come up. So,
and dude, I pay for coaching all the time now because I know the value of it. Alex Hormozy said, what did he say? That like he would rather just pay somebody for an hour of their time to like dump everything into his brain than get like buy a program or course or something. I mean, just this week, there's a business mentor of mine. I was like, man, I need 90 minutes with you on your entire ecosystem, how it all works. Cause my new program, I want it to be similar to that because he's had all the success.
Sure.
And he's like, all right, $1,000 for 90-minute session. I'm like, done. Like that is totally worth it. It's worth 50 grand. So yeah, that is very important. Yeah.
Yeah. In my kind of insiders club, they see my, what I pay for coaching, and when it's almost $8,000 a month, dude. I have a mindset coach. I have a body coach, Nate, out in Scottsdale. He flies me out. We have those garage workouts that get a little gnarly. So a jujitsu coach. I have coaches across the board, dude. And also interviewing people like you, that people know that's the reason why I started this. It was a selfish endeavor to pick the brains of people like you. I could level up.
It's a free consult, right?
Right. And the thing is like, but this whole thing in February 2020, COVID happened. I don't know if you heard about it, but they put the show on steroids, dude. And it was like metaphorically, squad. So, but it was just kind of grew up and just blown up. And like, that's just what happened. So I get those prizes and stuff from it, but I also get to meet people like you, man. I'm so freaking blessed, brother, because what you're doing for people is just absolutely outstanding. So, Philip, how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date. Hopefully it's way down the line, your life date and death date. But how does Philip want his dash remembered?
Man, these deep questions, you're really making me think here. How do I want my dash remembered? Man, Philip was the most compassionate guy who helped as many people as possible get unstuck and find out who they are and become the best version of themselves. And that's it. I mean, I don't know how to word it better. I'm sure I can word it better than that, man. But if people listening to this show, people listening to my show, like if 5, 10, 15 people can like live 20 years longer with their strongest selves, that right there is worth it.
That's huge, bro.
Yeah.
And that's your mission statement right there. Most compassionate guy, helped others, get unstuck, and lean into the best version of himself. That's awesome, dude. That's fantastic. So, Philip, what do you think people might misunderstand about you the most?
Misunderstand about me. Oh man. I'm not sure what people might misunderstand about me. Like maybe they think I'm like every other nutrition coach out there or something. I don't know. We talked about it before we started recording, how there's these Fitz pros and 20-year-olds that are just right off the street. And
Yeah.
I've been through life. Like I've been through life. I have a family. I have a wife, kids. I've dealt with things, and that is experience. You can't buy it. You can't learn it in a course.
Sure.
And so you have to get to know me. This is why I have the podcast, so you can get to know who I am, how I communicate.
You can, dude. You're
yeah, exactly.
Transparent as hell on that thing, bro.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. Because I don't want to sell people on coaching. I want them to come to me and say, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Help me out. Let's work together."
You see the passion. And you and I are kind of off camera. It's like I'm an introvert. Like I enjoy kava. It's a drink, and I have a kava bar I go to, and I read and relax. But people are like, when I'm out and about, like if I was to meet you, I'd give you the biggest hug, like rah, rah, rah. It's like, but that takes energy that kind of comes out. Like people don't understand, dude. I'm an introvert, like big time introvert. And I'll go out to eat by myself. I have absolutely no problem with that. But I also like you to lean into as many people as possible and help them reach their ultimate human potential. That's just beautiful. So what's Philip's definition of a life well lived?
Man, a life well lived. I'm a provider and protector for my family.
You are.
And so if a life well lived is where I can look back and say I did everything I possibly could to give them the best life, and them meaning not just my own family, but really this extended family that is the world that we interact with. It's not just I saw my dad go live with a job that he didn't like his whole life, and I learned from that of what not to do. I've also been in the corporate world and had the 9 to 5 where, it was okay. It wasn't as fulfilling for me in terms of my purpose.
Sure.
And so having something where I'm just like so psyched about it every day, I know it helps people. I know fitness unlocks everything else in life. And to be able to make that impact is what I'm going for.
That's awesome, man. And you surely do. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Philip, you and I are definitely going to meet, man. I'm going to make sure you get down to Podfest at least next year, or next time I'm in Connecticut. Maybe we can meet halfway or something like that. That'd be awesome. Go grab a workout and grab a smoothie or whatnot. But today, I'm going to ask you some questions. You got 5 seconds to answer them with no explanation. I promise you they can be answered that way. You ready to level up?
Let's do it.
All right, Philip. What is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
These are 5-second questions, man. Oh my God. Best leveling up advice. Be fit.
Love it, man. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Time blocking.
Love it. So you kind of see me walking down the street, or you see me somewhere, and you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums. Like, what book might you hand me that really helps you out mentally to level up?
I can't, man. I'm blanking out on this one.
No worries, man. No worries.
Blanking out.
No, you're good. Most commonly used emoji when you text.
The muscle.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
In high school, they called me Paps.
Paps. I love that too. Was there ever smear after? I'm kidding.
I don't know if it was a good positive name or not, but I'll take it.
You have any hidden talents or superpowers that nobody knows about until now?
I'm a good jazz musician, actually. People don't know about that. Yeah.
Dude, you shouldn't have told me that. That's awesome. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Excellent. Headline for your life?
Shit, man. I'm a perfectionist. Maybe that's the headline, but not really.
That works.
I just can't think of it. Let's go with it.
Dude, I'm hitting that engineer hard. I love this, dude. Any superstitions you believe in?
I really don't.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I don't.
So, of course, on your cheat day, but go to ice cream flavor.
Peanut butter cup.
Awesome. So there's a sandwich called the Paps. Build that sandwich for me. What's on that sandwich? It's
about 90% meat. Every type of meat you can imagine. A little bit of cheese, some mayonnaise, lettuce, and there we go. It's on some sort of like fancy roll.
Nice, my guy. Any favorite charity organization that you like to give your time or money to?
Oh, the American Red Cross. I donate blood.
Thank you. Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
And last question, you can elaborate on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
I'm going to go with 80s.
I'm in, dude. We're definitely hanging out, brother. Yeah, dude. I mean, the 80s, like a lot of people, like I listen when I'm kind of going through a podcast or listening and building show notes. I'll listen to 70s, right? Because it's
Yeah.
storytelling and it's really cool stuff in that. But
Sure,
the
good
80s, I
lyrics,
mean,
yeah.
let's think about it, dude. I mean, you got invaded with U2, Duran Duran, I mean, from everywhere, right? And Men at Work or Culture Club or whatever. And then you had Big Hair Don't Care. You had rap with the
Yep.
Beastie Boys, Run
And you had all the
DMC.
Rockers, Journey, and all those
Yes,
Chicago. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, like the
REO
80s,
Speedwagon, everything.
dude,
Yeah.
everything happened in the 80s, man. Gordon Gekko happened. I mean, everything was the 80s,
Greed
man.
is
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So, my friend, how can we find you, brother?
My podcast, Wits and
Yes.
Weights.
Okay.
And then you can reach me out on IG at Wits and Weights.
Love it. And you got to check out his YouTube channel as well, squad. Like, he absolutely kills it. Like, there's a really good interview that I thought was kind of funny also with the Andy Baker interview that he did on YouTube. He's dude's a beast and he's awesome. So, and also Eric Helms, I believe that might have been in the 120s was the Eric Helms episode. It was awesome, man. But yeah, check out his YouTube, check out his IG, squad, and check out, definitely go to Wits and Weights, the podcast. It's awesome. He's top 2% globally in fantastic information, and it's on my must listen to. So, Philip, do me a solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
I mean, you actually just said it, and take action, because I think a lot of people just don't take that first step. People try to have the all or nothing mentality, right? And like they try to do everything. Just do one thing. Just do one thing today from this interview. You heard the protein recommendation. Just do that. Are you eating enough protein? Do that.
Love that.
Do one thing, push the comfort zone, and you'll make progress.
Love it. And squad, we just had literally a free masterclass with my good friend, Philip Pape. And I have notes upon notes that I have been typing out throughout this whole thing. And it reminds us that 90% is really mental. You got to get that mental right. And when you get that mental right, you hire somebody like Philip to really bring that body into gear, because he's going to work with you mentally in through your body. Weights, lifting, resistance exercise, keeping your skeletal muscle is super, super key to living a harmonic life. And you talk to us at least 7 times today about taking action. Take action. One thing I like about my friend Philip here is he does it for the intention. He doesn't do it for the attention. You don't see him standing next to Lambos or doing all kinds of jazz. You might see him with a shirt off or something, but hell, if I had that body, I would too, brother. You know what I'm saying? He wants to really work to simplifying the message, to get it out to people, to understand that we all age. We all have that death sentence, but we can push that back. Unless God takes you in another way, we can actually keep delaying that, because our muscles will get into frail, but we need to, again, maintain that skeletal muscle tissues. Also, he said something awesome with regards to protein, like find your target body weight. So if you're 250 and you want to weigh 200, get into the 200 grams a day for your target body weight. Better yet, just let me make a warm introduction to Philip and let him get you there. He is very detail oriented, and his clients must be coachable and really work into the details with Philip through tracking, awareness, and again, be coachable, be ready to change. And if you're out there, whether you're young or old, don't be a dick. Really learn to lean into people. And if you don't know something, like my good friend Leah Woodford passed on to me years ago, get your asking gear. Because someone that is so compassionate like Philip, a guy that helped others get unstuck and become the best versions of themselves, is somebody that's out there planting trees he's never going to sit in the shade of. And that's the kind of people that I like to be around. He's a solid, provider, protector, and he wants to give you the best life possible. And again, take massive action. That's what my good friend Philip does. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's humble, yet he's hungry. He's a handsome devil. He's earned his varsity squad here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I absolutely love your guts.
Thank you so much. This had to be one of the most fun podcasts I've ever been on.
Thanks,
so great show you got here.
Awesome. Chat soon.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, Let's level up. It's our time to shine.